A long time ago, there was a great celebration in place, held by Zeus himself, the king of the immortals. Now, this celebration was in honor of the parents of Achilles, a fine war hero, thought to be the strongest warrior amongst all mortals in Greece. Now, at this celebration, everybody was enjoying themselves, wandering around, and there were all kinds of activities, including a fight between two bulls. Now, one of the bulls was actually Eris in disguise, the god of war. He had made himself become a bull so that he could be the champion over the prized bull at the time, who was the bull of a prince named Paris. Now, this prince, Paris, was very fair, and even though he knew that the god Ares had turned himself into a bull and was totally cheating, he awarded him the prize as the best bull anyway, and he handed the prize over. Now, Zeus thought this was very fair of Paris. Everybody had been invited to this wonderful ceremony, this devoted marriage between Achilles' two parents. All of the gods, all of the goddesses, all of the mortals, except there was one god that you just didn't invite to events like this, and that was Eris. And Eris was the god of jealousy and strife, and wherever she went, she always brought with her this wickedness and jealousy, and people were really upset, and gods were really upset, and it was always a bad idea. And so nobody invited her. But she knew that everybody was off at a party because she watched them get dressed up and she watched them go off to the party. So she was very, very put out. So, while everybody was enjoying the festivities, she came up with a plan that she knew would tear the whole thing apart because it's what she does. She's the goddess of jealousy. So, she found herself a golden apple from the garden of Hesperides, a really beautiful, beautiful apple, just perfect in every way. And she wrote a little note right on the apple in very fine print. It didn't even break the skin of the apple. And all it said on the apple is, "To the beautiful one. To the beautiful one." And she snuck into the party in plain clothes so that she didn't even look like a goddess. She looked like a serving woman. And she found the table where Hera and Athena and Aphrodite were all sitting. And she placed the apple on the table amongst the other dishes that were there. And it actually wasn't for some time that the first woman who's at the table, this goddess, Hera, who was the wife of Zeus, she grabbed up the apple and she said, oh, it says right on here, it says, "To the beautiful one, somebody has left this apple for me." And she really did, honestly, assume that that apple was for her. Now, as it would have it, she was seated next to Aphrodite, who was the beautiful goddess of love. And Aphrodite, she said, "Well, to the beautiful one, that must mean me. I really think that it was meant for me and not for you." But they were also seated at the table with Athena. And Athena said, "Well, just because I'm the goddess of wisdom doesn't mean that I'm also not quite beautiful. Surely I'm more beautiful than both of you." And so Athena plucked the apple out of their hands and brought it for herself. All three of the women argued and argued and argued and caused quite a commotion at the party. However, they couldn't decide amongst them who was the most beautiful, and so they pulled Zeus aside. And Zeus let out a loud sigh. There was no way that he wanted to be the judge of this competition. But they said, "Zeus, somebody left this apple at our table and it says, 'To the beautiful one.' One of us is the absolute most beautiful goddess." And Hera looked at her husband. She said, "Surely it is I." because I am your wife, and you must consider me the most beautiful in all the world. And Athena said, well, I'm your daughter. You must consider me the most beautiful in the world, even more than your wife. And then Aphrodite said, I'm not even of your family, so of all the women in the land, surely you must find somebody outside your family the most beautiful of them all. And all three of the goddesses had a very compelling case. But Zeus was a very wise god, and he said, I refuse to judge the competition. There's no way that I could think that any of you three were more beautiful than one another. You're all just quite beautiful in your own way, and none of you is the most beautiful. And they said, we need an answer because somebody's going to have this apple. And Zeus said, oh, well, so be it. You know, look what we have here. And he looked over, and he saw the prince, Paris, who had very fairly judged the competition earlier with his own prize bull losing. And he said, Paris will be a very good judge of this competition. And so the three goddesses made the same appeal to Paris. And they said, Paris, who is the most beautiful goddess of the three of us? And he just shook his head and he shrugged his shoulders. And he said, I am just so floored. All three of you are so beautiful. I couldn't possibly say who is the most beautiful. And the three goddesses, they took different poses and they flaunted their gorgeous clothes that they had made specifically just for this event. And they said, one of us must be more gorgeous than the others because there's this golden apple with a note inscribed on it that says, to the most beautiful. And one of us is the beautiful one that this apple was intended for. And Paris didn't know what to do. He knew that any time that you say something to the gods or goddesses, you're likely to get in very big trouble, to get transformed into something. And he himself, he was a mere mortal, and he did not want to take any sides. So the goddesses had a plan, and it actually started with Hera. And Hera said, I am the wife of Zeus. I am a very powerful goddess. I can offer you power, all the power you want. You'll be the king of Greece and all the outlying islands. If you want that, just say that I'm the most beautiful, and I will make you the king of everything. And Paris thought about it, but before he had a moment to respond, Athena said, I can make you wise. I'm the goddess of wisdom, and I can make you wise enough to always make the right choice, to always make the right plan in battle, and win every battle that you ever have. What good is being the king if you just lose in battle and lose your kingship right after you get it? And she had a good point, so Paris thought about it for a moment. But before he even had a chance to respond to her, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, said, why would you want to be the king of everything? And why would you want to be the best military captain and win all your wars if you didn't have a really wonderful woman by your side? And Aphrodite said, I will get you the most beautiful woman in all of Greece. And Paris thought about that, and he finally had a moment to respond, and he said, well, I think that it's quite impossible for you to get me the most beautiful woman in all of Greece, because every person in Greece knows that the most beautiful woman in all of Greece is Helen. And she is married to Menelaus, who's a really wonderful king whom we all respect. So there's no way that you could do that. And Aphrodite just looked at him in the eyes and she said, I can, and I will. And so Paris made his choice. He said, well, then surely the apple that says to the beautiful one was obviously meant for Aphrodite, who's the goddess of love. It just makes sense. She's the most beautiful. Now, Aphrodite was very, very happy about this. However, Hera, the wife of Zeus, a very powerful goddess who was used to going into jealous rages, was very unhappy about this. And Athena, the goddess of wisdom and a goddess of war, was also very unhappy about this. And so, with his choice, Paris had sealed his own fate and the fate of many, many people, and accidentally started a war that lasted for 10 years. And we will find out more about that tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow.